Hi, Irene here. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today I am working on a single page layout from an event my husband and I just attended the other weekend. And it was a musical event at the winery my daughter works at, and it was called Motown Get Down, and it was a blast. We had so much fun. The winery is beautiful. They've got this beautiful garden where everyone could picnic. You brought in, your own food. There was music, obviously, and dancing. We just had so much fun. But I'm waiting for some of those photos to make their way to me so I can scrapbook them. But in the meanwhile, I wanted to document these photos, which are of the I don't, it's a van, old service van. I'm not exactly sure what it was. It looks like an old van, but they converted it into serving wine out of it. And she's been named. Her name is Claudine. So I wanted to give Claudine her own page. So what I was thinking was first, and originally I wanted to use this layout, which is a layout by Erin from Crafty Concepts with Erin, but I just didn't have enough photos to do actually a 2-page layout. So I'm going to be just doing the left hand, and I'm just going to modify it a bit to accommodate the 2 photos that I am going to be scrapbooking. I knew when I saw these pictures of Claudine that they screamed French flower market, right? I mean, Claudine, it looks like a European vehicle. So I knew that it had to have somewhat of a flower market theme. So initially I was just going to bring in some papers from the Bloom Impressions, which was a very colorful paper, this one here. And it just seemed overwhelming. So I actually flipped it over, and the back side is this really, really pretty green. And it just tied in, I thought, so well with the colors of Claudine. So I pulled out this floral as well, which is also from the same, all of them are from the same paper pack. And I figured I'm just going to do myself a monochromatic layout. So based on our sketch from Erin, it is a framed style layout. So I'm going to be starting with just a background of white cardstock. And then I'm going to add a couple extra layers than Erin had, but I'm going to be adding in this really pretty wash of green. And then on top of that, with a small border, I want to use this really pretty floral paper. So that is kind of my concept, my thought process. And then she has this really easy, simple strip of paper here in a 4x6. So I have a 4x6, and my second photo isn't quite 4x6. It's just a little bit over 4, so it's about 4 1/4 and about by 5 1/2. So I'm thinking I'm going to do something like that. And I'm going to be bringing in, for that strip of paper, this piece of Pool Party. This is the 2-toned cardstock. So I'm going to be laying that underneath, and I want to give this one a little texture treatment just so that it has some dimension, since it is monochromatic. So I want to give it a little bit extra something something. So I'm kind of thinking that is going to be my layout. So if you look at Erin's sketch, super simple on the left. I think I'm going to move my title up above and then do just one single embellishment cluster down here below. So let me pull out these pictures and let me show you what I think I'm going to do as far as embellishing, or just giving this piece of Pool Party a little bit of texture. So without adding any additional weight, I'm going to bring in a grip mat. I'm going to lay that down here. I am going to be bringing in some Pool Party because I'm just going to do a tone on tone ink blending with a stencil. So I have this stencil, which I have just bought off of Amazon. None of the stencils that I had in my stash actually um, would work as far as being able to repeat a pattern. They were too small. So I'm just going to take my pool party and just super easy. I'm just going to do some tone on tone. So that way it gives it some texture or just some, just it's an element, a layer, and without adding any weight to the layout. So I am going to ink this up. It's going to take me a couple of minutes to get enough ink on it, and then I will be right back and give you or show you the final ink blended um, panel there. So I have finished ink blending my panel here. And what's really nice about the grip mat here is that it will hold your paper in place, and it kind of holds your stencil as well. You could always tape it down a little, but if you hold it tight, you can just lift it up and see if you're missing an area that didn't get quite as much ink, or if you want to ink it up just a bit more. But I'm pretty happy with that. So let me lift this up and show you my finished ink blending. The stencil itself looks somewhat French, but it doesn't, it's really not text. It just is, it's very, very vague. So I think as a background, it's going to be really great. It's going to add some texture, some dimension to my layout without adding any weight. So let me bring in my papers really fast. Let me clear this up real quick. And the grip mat, they clean up really, really easy. The one I have is from Tim Holtz. So let me bring this in really quick. Like I said, I'm going with a background of white cardstock and then a matted frame type of layout here. I am going to mat this in white as well. This is kind of big, but just to get an idea, I like those different layers. So I'm going to be adding that underneath. I'm going to ink up everything. I had this one inked up already. I don't know why, but it's working for me. So I'm happy about that. Then I'm going to bring in my photos, which are going to go right here. I think I'm going to run my title right across here, which is going to be Claudine after our little truck here. And then I'm just going to do a single embellishment cluster down here in the bottom. I might add a tag or two, maybe just to say where we were and the date, but it's going to be quite simple. So let me cut down all these papers. I'm going to ink up my edges because I like that additional dimension without any weight. And I will be right back and show you what we have to work with. I cut down all my papers so that I have my frame style layout. This darker green I did gut, so I can use that at a later date, either for a different layout, for mats, whatever. The piece of pool party that I used the stencil and I did the inking on, I matted on a piece of white cardstock. Everything's been inked on the edges. Let me bring in my photos so we can see placement here. I am thinking just simple like that. Where Erin only had one, I do have the two. I have a little bucket here of, move them over here, embellishments. I have a, this flower cart. I had to find it in my pile. This flower cart Stampin' Die set, and I just stamped out a bunch of the little pots with the flowers. I did this really cute wagon with the canopy, did a little sandwich board. So I just I stamped and died and cut out a bunch of little things. And then with the alphabet a la mode, I did the title. Like I said, I'm just going to do Claudine So let me find my letters in here, and I'm just doing those in the white Willow cardstock. So it's super simple. I know I have all the letters, so they're just tucked away in here. So that is going to be the title. Let's see. And I'm just going to adhere that all down with the Bearly Art Glue. Super simple. So if I can spell, we will be okay. That is an E. I'm hoping to fit it just along the length of this photo, so it has like a resting spot, so it's just not floating away in the sky. I will rearrange it so it makes a little more sense here. Everything just wiggles and moves on me all the time. So that's where my title is going to go. I have this super cute little flower cart. Like I said, this layout or these pictures just screamed Parisian flowers, flower mart to me. Thinking I'm going to put in a little sandwich board there. I don't know if I'm going to write anything on that one or not. I've got a set of pots here with a cluster of flowers. And then I have all these other little pieces here. So I'm just going to build, hard for me to pick up, just going to build a couple of little flower pots here. I'm going to stick with like the peaches and the yellows and just kind of keep them in the same color family. So we're going to do that. I'm thinking maybe some flowers that look like they're kind of hanging over the flower cart here. And let's see, oh, those are two of the same. Let's maybe, I'm thinking, okay, let's tuck one over here. I'm going to tuck a couple behind there. We're going to build up this cluster. It's going to not be super involved. Let's see, I've got a yellow and maybe an orange here. But they're all jumping around, so, but that's kind of basically it. Once I get it all adhered down, it's not going to be moving quite so much. I did think at one point I might add a couple of banners. If you see here, they've got these little swags of little 45s from the concert there, the Motown Get Town. So I don't know, I'll see, but I'm actually kind of liking the way it looks right now. Let me adhere this all down, and then we'll decide if I'm going to put a couple of swags or just maybe add a little bit of bling. So I will be right back. I got everything adhered down. I actually did film it, and for some reason I had no audio. So since I don't know how to do a voiceover yet and don't have the time to figure it out because I'm still have to pack for a trip I'm leaving on tomorrow, I'm just going to re-record this. So let me just bring in then what I did. So I added some of these cute little tiny bee trinkets as my embellishment. Chose not to do the banners because I just thought it would have been too distracting. Added a few of the bee trinkets down here, popped up some of my flowers, and then I just added a little bit of a little embellishment up here. So though I do end up with that visual triangle. So that little cluster is just one of those Spotlight on Nature dies, a tab, and then a couple more flowers. And I was able to fit my title along my photo, which really I was really happy with. So I hope you enjoy this layout. And if you liked my video, if you could give it a thumbs up, that would be great. And I will leave everything I used in the description box below. And until next time, have a good one. Bye.